BUSTIN Fields, not just a great name for a male porn star. A nickname given to one Justin Fields. Now this is a clip of me reacting to the Denver Broncos selecting corner Patrick Surtain over QB Justin Fields in the 2021 NFL Draft.
What the fuck?
Patrick Surtain Jr.
I love the pick of Patrick Surtain. I love that they took the corner. But I love that pick if Justin Fields isn't on the fucking board.
I really thought they'd messed up there. I thought new GM George Payton was a fool. 20 plus games later, it appears I am the fool. I am wearing the dunce cap. Pat Surtain and Justin Fields do have something in common though right now. It's that they are both responsible for a lot of incompletions and very few touchdowns. Turns out I probably would have been in a far worse mental state as a football fan if Fields was the Broncos QB right now. And I say that knowing everything going on with Russ. Today I'm gonna answer the question whether or not Justin Fields will end up being a bust as we go balls deep into Justin Fields. Now I want to take a fair look at Justin Fields in this video. It feels like there are two sides on Justin right now. One where he's totally blameless and a complete victim of circumstance, and another where he's a complete asshole and will never get better. Ever. Now as a mid-tier sports YouTube channel, I feel like I'm especially qualified to take the middle ground. I appreciate nuance.
There's so many nuances to throwing to your first progression, and I'm doing a bit of a troll job by like, oh wow, here's his playbook, second progression, because it's just a dumb criticism. Boom, good little boot fake, gets out there, doesn't throw it to his first progression. Oh wow, threw it to his second progression. Amazing how that works. And we gotta stop simplifying it to the point of being like, can't throw a second progression, because a majority of people that are saying that don't know what it means, and then the people that do know what it means are saying it in a very disingenuous way.
Now, my opinion is that in addition to Justin Fields being given time to develop, which I think all young QBs should, we need to offer the same for his offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. Right now, we are seeing both Russell Wilson, a vet, and Justin Fields struggle to run the offense that Luke Getsy and Nathaniel Hackett perfected with Aaron Rodgers. I think they are learning that what Rodgers can do, most other QBs can't. Rodgers will make any system look good. And how they adjust their system moving forward will be as crucial as anything Justin Fields does. Now, Justin Fields' stock is at an all-time low. It's rock bottom. He did not play well in prime time against the bad Commanders team. That's why the spotlight is burning through him like the sun right now. But to start this story, we're gonna go all the way back to high school when Justin Fields was homecoming king, when Fields was the #1 recruit per ESPN. Fields attended Harrison High School in Kennesaw, Georgia. And his senior year, his season, was documented by the Netflix show QB1, Beyond the Lights. Now, whether or not it's a good idea for a high schooler to appear on a Netflix documentary is a topic for an entire another video. You can just ask Spencer Rattler how that turned out. Now, I'm waiting for the crossover when the best high school quarterback also murders his father in the Netflix true sports crime crossover, QB Killer. The real QB show started to build the myth around Justin Fields, though, as this can't-miss prospect that was going to dominate college football and eventually the NFL. Fields made a strange choice, though, committing to the University of Georgia and deciding to remain committed to Georgia, despite the fact that true freshman QB Jake Fromm, State Fromm, had just led the team to overtime in the national championship game where they eventually would lose to Tua and the stacked Alabama team. Now, Fields never started a game at Georgia, attempting just 39 passes in his one season before transferring to Ohio State, who had an open spot at the quarterback position following Dwayne Haskins leaving for the NFL. Now, Fields was objectively terrific in his first year at OSU, He won 13 of his 14 starts, had a touchdown to interception ratio of 41-3. That's insane, and ran for another 10 touchdowns. Absolutely dominant. This is why many of us who don't study QBs were so high on him coming into the NFL. Unfortunately, he saved his worst game for Ohio State's college football playoff and their loss to Trevor Lawrence and the Clemson Tigers. With a chance to take the lead in the fourth quarter, Fields threw a game-ending pick on an apparent miscommunication with his receiver. A year later, however, Fields would exact his revenge against the Tigers, throwing 6 touchdowns in the college football semifinal, including this 56-yard dime to Chris Olave in the third quarter. And the name Chris Olave brings me to an interesting point I need to make. Olave, running back, J.K. Dobbins, Garrett Wilson, Jeremy Ruckert, Jamison Williams, Trey Sermon, Jackson Smith, not gonna say that last name. These were some of the players Fields was throwing and handing off to at Ohio State. Probably the best skill players in the country, or at least up there with Alabama. Transcendent talent at the skill positions can make life very, very easy for a college QB. I call this the Mike Evans effect, as he was 99% the reason Johnny Manziel was drafted in the first round. Now in college, Justin Fields had time to throw, and he had guys that got wide open and knew how to finish plays. That's not to diminish his role in the offense. He was great, but we know that the Ohio State offense is very, 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 very QB friendly, which is a reason I think Fields actually dropped from the number 2 consensus pick behind Trevor Lawrence to eventually the 4th QB behind Zach Wilson and Trey Lance as well. There were also some narratives about Fields that seemed pretty nonsensical.
They're saying that he's the last guy in and he's the first guy to leave.
He was dinged for apparently not loving football, despite being one of the few players to advocate for a college football season during the pandemic in 2020. That was pushed by Dan Orlovsky, who has since apologized. But there were also football reasons for his slide down the draft board. I'm gonna show you a picture, and we're gonna see if this looks familiar. This is Justin Fields' throwing motion. When I see this, I see another player, Carson Wentz, who Fields just lost to. They look pretty similar, and that's a little concerning. The problem with this elongated throwing motion is it gives pass rushers an extra half second to get to the QB. It gives defensive backs an extra half second to break on the ball, and it's hard to be consistently accurate because it's difficult to repeat an elongated motion time and time again. The only exception to this rule is Phillip Rivers. If your sperm count is 80 trillion squared, it doesn't matter what body part we're talking about, you will have a quick release. Rivers somehow did get a quick release from his dumb arm despite looking like a toddler hurtling toys across the room. Todd McShay also said before the draft that Fields was the most physically gifted quarterback in that class, but he had over 200 passes in 2020, and 200 plus of those were off his first read, and only 7 were him sitting in the pocket, going from progression 1 to progression 2. McShay also noted that he loves to see his receiver come open, and he doesn't anticipate enough throws.
Oh wow, here's his playbook second progression, because it's just a dumb criticism.
At Ohio State, his first read was usually open because he was throwing to such great athletes, and the receivers were schemed open so well by the coaches. So here we are. Fields gets to the NFL, and especially in Chicago, that's no longer the case. Everything got harder for Fields in Chicago. Coaching was a problem, offensive line was a problem, lack of always open receivers a problem. Still, those things might be true. Most NFL fans and media gave Fields a pass for a really tough rookie season, and I think that's fair to some extent. It's really easy to do when you look at the 2021 rookie class as a whole. They all looked pedestrian outside of Mac Jones, who was of course playing with a Belichick coach team. I will say, however, that Matt Nagy being used as a scapegoat seems a little off base. And that's not to say that Nagy is a genius, but I do remember him coaching up Mitch Trubisky to a Pro Bowl season in 2018 where he threw 24 touchdowns. And after Tomlin benched Trubisky so quickly, maybe Nagy wasn't as bad as we all made him out to be last year. And 24 touchdown passes doesn't sound like a lot, but it probably was a top 3 season by a Bears QB ever. Their standards are low, and they were a double doink away from winning a playoff game. The point, Nagy obviously regressed in his 4 years in Chicago. There's no arguing that, but I find it hard to believe that he lost the ability to coach quarterbacks whatsoever. Considering Andy Dalton has one of the fastest release times in the league, maybe that's why he wanted Fields on the bench behind that line in 2021. Now, Justin Fields did have some flashes last season that made you think this guy can become a special player. I think that's still true. I'm thinking primarily about an incredible 22-yard touchdown run against the 49ers, as well as a great sequence on Monday Night Football against the Steelers. You can really see the playmaking ability on display, something that a lot of quarterbacks can't do. But while Fields can make extraordinary plays, he's also failed to make a lot of routine plays. Every athlete who makes it to the NFL should show you flashes. Josh Allen did that his rookie season, while also overthrowing his receivers by 20 yards. Fields also didn't really help himself out when he said that the game was kind of slow to him of his rookie year.
It was actually kind of slow to me.
I think that quote got taken a bit out of context, which is the case for most quotes, most Field quotes actually. But that quote looks bad next to his career completion percentage of, 57? And as his early career begins to slip away from him, he's had other bad moments in front of a mic.
I mean, it hurts more in the locker room than the Bears fans. I mean, because at the end of the day, they're not putting in any work. I see the guys in the locker room every day. I see how much work they put in, so.
Now, we are 6 games into the 2022 NFL season. Keep in mind, Fields has only started 16 games. No QB should be entirely written off after a sample size that short. Fields and Trevor Lance are kind of in this weird, we get a pass for our rookie year limbo phase because both coaching staffs have been overhauled after their rookie year. That kind of change can be a huge hindrance to development. I discussed that in the Trevor Lawrence bust episode from last season, but one major theme of highly drafted QBs who are eventually busts is significant coaching overhauls in the QB's first 2 seasons. Sometimes that's because the coach was horrible, and sometimes it's because the QB was horrible, but the coach had to take the blame, and sometimes, a lot of times, it's a little bit of both. At the moment, Justin Fields is playing worse than he did in 2021, and his numbers are historically low, and a lot of that is his fault. Really good QBs, do not miss this throw. You can struggle as a young quarterback, but you gotta make the easy routine plays. Through the first 4 weeks, there was this ridiculous stat. You might remember that Cooper Kupp had more receptions than Justin Fields had completions. He was leading 42-34. Through those 4 games, Fields has slowly pulled away from that dumb stat, but what I took away was that the Bears and their 2 wins, they featured Fields completing just 8 passes on 17 attempts. And I think they should get back to that actually. I don't care about that stat. Here are some of Fields' alarming stats though from his sophomore season. His sack percentage right now, 16.7. The good news is that number's down from 19 the more he throws. The bad news, anything over 9 should start to make you hyperventilate. Just 115 passing attempts on the season. That's the lowest in the league, and Fields has played 1 more game than most quarterbacks at the time of this recording. It's tied with Tua, who hasn't played since week 4, and he didn't even finish that game. So all the stats are bad for Fields. No getting around that. And after Thursday night, I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick and yes, Richard Sherman made good observations about Fields' performance post-game.
You are not Peyton Manning. You are not Patrick Mahomes. You are not a pocket passer. You are a Cam Newton type. You are a guy that is an elite runner of the football. We need to lean on and utilize that skill. Don't sit in the pocket and try to be a pocket passer. That is not your strength.
One thing though, it is only his 2nd year.
It doesn't matter though. If you look at his footwork,
Put their right foot back, and we gotta start coaching elite level footwork again. And we gotta stop with this idea that we can disassociate and all that matters is our front shoulder.
The worst part here, though, is seeing people in the media tee off on Fitzpatrick, calling him a racist, and then ignoring Richard Sherman saying the same thing in a different way about Field.
Luke Getsy is like, hey, I want to challenge him to overcome my play calling. Like, Don't make him overcome your play calling. Put him in easy situations. You know why the DN had a chance to bat the pass down? Because he's in the pocket.
One thing I do disagree with is Fields is not Cam Newton. Cam Newton would not get blown up like this.
And he'll scramble out of there.
And Cam Newton threw for 4,000 yards as a rookie. Furthermore, I trust a quarterback who played in the league for well over a decade. More than these fake outrage artists on Twitter in terms of QB evaluation. What Fitzpatrick is saying is that the coaching in Chicago is not calling a game plan conducive to Fields' strengths. Fields can throw, but right now he's a threat running the ball. Do you know who is applauded for building their team and calling an offense to that strength? The Ravens with the young Lamar Jackson, and now the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. It's about taking the pressure off these young guys as they learn to see the field and make their reads. Almost all young quarterbacks take too long to get rid of the ball and go through their progressions. The difference is not all of them give the offense another option in terms of being able to run the ball. Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Tua, those guys do not have that threat that Fields does in terms of being able to run. Not taking full advantage of a QB who has that skill is stupid. It's a tool you don't use enough. It's like having a shovel, but using your hands to dig a fucking trench. I'd bet Fields would look close to as good as Tua if he had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle right now. And I love Darnell Mooney, but he ain't those guys. The Bears are 32nd in offensive cap dollars, which means they just haven't devoted resources to build around Justin Fields. Watch this play right here. Fields does have great protection. Just 2 receivers running routes though. Both are covered, and right here, boom! Field needs to run. Just take off and run. Those are the plays they are not taking advantage of by asking Fields to stay in the pocket. And if you think I'm wrong, look at Jalen Hurts and the narrative around him currently. Like Fields, he has 3 games this season without a passing TD. In those games, he has yet to throw less than 200 yards though, while Fields has only thrown for more than 200 once all season long. But Nick Sirianni would run the ball 80 times in a game if that's what it took to win. With 2 very good backs in Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery, the Bears need to revert to that same approach, which they did early in the season before everyone started bitching about Fields' low passing attempts. But to credit Luke Getsy, at some point your QB does have to show he can get through those reads, and I think that's what they're trying to do. The Bears line isn't great, but Fields makes them look worse than they are, and right now they're actually a top 5 run blocking unit. According to Pro Football Focus and my eyes and their 5.2 yards per carry, and according to ESPN, their O-line is also 8th best in pass block win rate, but you can only win at the line of scrimmage for so long. That's ESPN though, and I found this one on the Bears subreddit, which just underscores how subjective offensive line performance can be. Keep in mind, Lamar Jackson, though, was an MVP his second season and threw 36 TDs to just 6 picks. Hurts is a better comp. Hurts passed for over 3,100 yards in 2021. I'd say let's evaluate, though, how Fields plays the second half of this season and then compare before we call him a bust. But right now, he's not playing close to the levels that those 2 guys did in their sophomore seasons. At the end of the day, Justin Fields currently is worst or second worst in a lot of crucial stats when it comes to accuracy and composure under pressure, and I don't see it getting better for him in Chicago, at least quickly. If he doesn't progress with the new GM, with the new head coach, who feel no loyalty to him, he gone. Right now, though, he's no worse than Zach Wilson, who has saved himself some criticism by being injured and not playing early this year. Wilson probably has a longer leash because Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas brought him in. So, is he a bust? Not yet. Do I think he's gonna be? Yes. But I'm rooting for him not to be, and I hope he gets a fair chance. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Watch another video on the screen. There's a good one up there right now, I think. It's good, I swear.